Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Before we continue Aikidoing, a quick technical note. The things we are talking about here are a big hippie jumble of martial arts, psychology, Eastern philosophy, pop culture, and probably dozens of other concepts. Personally, I don't mind since I believe these things are all interconnected, and using one word instead of another is no big deal. However, designating a single descriptor to the general field we are discussing may help make things clearer. So, from now on, whenever we refer to the general ideas presented here, we will call them Aikidoing. I'm not sure it's such a great choice, but I couldn't come up with anything better. Nonviolence sounds too holy. Taoism and Buddhism will get us into an academic trap. And awesome kick-assing is it's actually a great name. But, well, something tells me it's not very compatible with the Aikidiot's message. We talk here about what we talk here, ideas and suggestions that can be good or bad. We just gave them a hopefully not too indicative or decisive name to make them easier to discuss. But it's just a name. In the end, this is not the candy. It's just a wrapper. Probably not even the best possible one. You are truly more than welcome to think of better wrappers to the things we talk about here. Send them to us. We'll have a ball. It reminds me of a story I heard about a Zen master who was lying on his deathbed surrounded by his disciples, and the most senior of them leaned over and pleaded, "Master, please, before you leave us, tell us what the meaning of life is." The master took a labored breath and said, "Life, life is like a flowing river." Scurrying through the temple went the senior disciples to spread the news until it reached the last of the students. Then one of the youngest students said, "Hey, wait a minute. Life being like a flowing river makes no sense." Upon which the senior disciples rushed to the master's chamber and said, "But master, life being like a flowing river doesn't make any sense." The master drew one last breath and said, "Well, I guess life isn't like a flowing river." And then he died. The Aikidiot. Aikido, conflict resolution, and the general practice of not being a jerk. Chapter 3. Allergic reaction to Aikidoing. Anyway, in the second episode of the Aikidiot, we talked about Aikidoing in the common space when we are attacked. About how a minimal, almost non-existent defense, both in Aikido and in interpersonal confrontation, can help us deal with violence. On paper, it sounds great. Move a little to the side or just casually look back at the person who insulted you, and all will be well. No need to buy a gun, learn karate, or cultivate self-confidence. No, life is so easy to deal with once you get the one-page manual. Of course not. It is all very simple, but not easy. We can talk about the difference between East and West, about the way language distorts nonverbal concepts, about our animal nature, and blah, blah, blah. And we probably will one day, but for now, let's sum it up like this. Simple, really not easy. Not by a long shot. Which is only too bad if you're making a podcast trying to promote this way of thinking. But that's actually the smaller problem with Aikidoing and its family of ideas. The bigger one is the antagonism. I have introduced these ideas to friends, family, business people, and countless nonprofit bureaucrats, and almost every time I was amazed at how these seemingly innocent, not to say naive ideas, actually make people not just skeptical, but also oppositional. The first layer of opposition, I think, is really easy to understand and also to deal with. It's the preachiness. I served in the Special Forces for more than 7 years. I am no strangers to weapons, violence, and animosity, but I am, by and large, a bleeding heart liberal, a tree hugger, or whatever you want to call it. I even stopped eating meat because I couldn't look at the poor cows anymore. Uh, by the way, I would kill for a hamburger right now, but I can't because I'm a bleeding heart liberal, and killing is wrong. And even I can't stand a preachy, wide eyed, self righteous know it all who gives you the look of, how can you be so primitive? Hey, I'm a liberal, but I'm still flesh and blood. Preach to me, and I get cranky. So I understand how the holier than thou thing can drive away people. And the solution is relatively simple: talk, don't preach, speak for yourself, not for others. And remember, as much as you like to hear yourself talk, you may still be wrong. But there's more to it, I think. The second layer of opposition is created by the magnitude of the implications. When we talk about Aikido, we talk about physical confrontation. When we translate these principles into the three spaces of thought and interaction, we're actually talking about life itself, the way we manage it and deal with it. And that's a lot. It is a lot to think of as a self improvement project. And moreover, if we accept that we need to implement ideas that change our whole way of living, it implicitly means that we've been doing it wrong, all of it, since the day we were born. How can such an idea not make us, well, frustrated? Tell me to move from 2% milk to non fat, and I could probably let it go. Tell me to move from living my life wrong to living my life right, and you might find out that even tree huggers can become violent. So there's the delivery, meaning the preachiness, and there's the staggering magnitude of what these ideas mean. But I think the main reason for opposition is another, one we seldom discuss. It's the wiring. Like Jessica Rabbit said, I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way. Let's not have the futile discussion of man is good, man is bad, man is beast, man is angel, and so on. First of all, I have very little to contribute to that discussion. And second, well, let's just not. Instead, let's think in more technical terms and define two distinct forces driving people. The first force would be the drive inward, toward the self, and whatever we associate with the self. This is the drive to take care of myself before others, of my family before strangers, and of whatever group of people I'm a part of before taking care of other groups of people. This is the force that drives families, nations, religions, and in extreme cases, it drives narcissists, criminals, and sociopaths. In short, me and mine before you and yours. We will call this the inward force. The second force would be the drive outward, toward others. This is the drive to share and be a part of what is outside myself. This is the drive that makes us love and give and spread and see ourselves as a part of something larger. In extreme cases, this force will lead to self annihilation, either by extreme altruism or by the loss of any sense of self, something that would make a person stop caring about their own existence. This will be the outward force. Now, let's not make the obvious mistake of thinking that one of these forces is better or more important than the other. We cannot live without either, and we cannot take care of ourselves or others if we exclude one and adhere only to the other. How so? Take parenting, for example. You live only to take care of your children, you neglect yourself. You cannot be a role model or set an example because you have no value to present. You are merely a tool, and your children can't learn from you how to stand up and fend for themselves. On the other hand, think only of yourself and not of your children. Well, at this point, hopefully social services will kick down the door and let you know what's what. So, like any good yin yang concept, the secret is in the dynamic balance, knowing what to be, how much of it, and at what timing. Simple, right? However, the thing is this: today, in some of the better fed parts of the world, we like to think of ourselves as giving, outward going members of communities, people who think of others and spend time and energy to help them. But that's not where we come from. Like it or not, we started off pretty primitive. We started off as single cells in the primordial ocean, and then we were apes who could appreciate the strength of a pack or a tribe, but not much more. Taking care of strangers, showing mercy to other species? Come on. So we may have evolved much since then. How much exactly is a matter of opinion, but our core, the platform on which our human existence rides, is definitely on the inward side. Eat first, think later. This is why most of us don't have to fight a mad urge to give all of our earthly possessions to charity. We don't have to hold ourselves from giving too much money to beggars. And we usually don't fly to the other side of the world to serve as human shields for the oppressed. This is not good. This is not bad. This simply is. That's where most of us are at. Okay, we are part beast, part angel. Thanks for taking so much time to explore that obvious, oh so beaten path. What does it have to do with the fact that people become upset when thinking about Aikidoing and co? Well, both the inward drive and outward drive originate with us in our own thoughts, but their biggest target is the real world, the common space we share with other beings, and the question of how much of it I take for myself and how much I leave or give to others. More specifically, the inward drive will strive to hog as much of the common space as possible for us, excluding others from it, and that, like we said from day one, is a type of behavior that we might sometimes want to avoid. Now, we can go around in great circles and explain to ourselves that taking less of the common space is good for everybody, and in the end will also make us happier, but the inward drive is not built that way. The idea of an action that somehow reverberates through the common space and eventually returns to benefit us is definitely not within its scope of understanding. And so, all this talk of not taking up space and not pushing others is really making that inward drive uncomfortable. Think about having a respectable, secure job when all of a sudden your boss comes around and tells you, Bactus Fitzpatrick Everly V, that's your name, of course, your services as chief scientist are no longer needed. We have an artificial intelligence agent that can do it better than you. You can stay with us, of course, and even get the same salary, but from now on you will be serving tea and occasionally cleaning the bathrooms. Is that okay with you, Bactus Fitzpatrick Everly the fifth, of course? And that's how the inward drive feels when it hears about Aikidoing. This, as far as the inward drive can see, is not a redistribution of power. This is an existential threat. A big chunk of how we see and comprehend ourselves is all of a sudden becoming not even irrelevant, but actually detrimental. Me? You can hear the inward drive shrieking within. Me? You ungrateful brat. Who kept getting you those extra desserts, huh? Who made you team captain? Who got you every bit of prestige you ever had? Not the hippie association of Central Nowhere, I can tell you that. And now you push me aside? Who the hell are you without me? Say what you want about the inward drive, it has a very well developed sense of drama, and it does not like hearing about Aikidoing. Now, there are still some gaps to close here. For the sake of clarity, we describe the inward drive as relating to very primitive functions, like picking up a stick and using it to fight over a banana. I hope it makes sense that the same drive that looks at the banana and says, mine, I will not share, is the same drive that says, I will be the head of that fiscal subcommittee and I will trash and smear anybody who stands in my way. The medium may be more tangible or less, but the movement is the same movement. Another thing you may have noted is that I never said animalistic or selfish when referring to the inward drive. These are not bad descriptions, but in my opinion, they carry too much negative connotation. Personally, I believe that when we try to embrace a new way of thinking or behaving, it should be because we want to go somewhere new, not because we are disgusted with where we are. The inward drive is an integral, healthy part of us. Describing it in dark terms will make some people resentful and others too eager to get rid of it. So, contrary to my love of drama and big words, I chose to describe the inward outward system in the most technical terms I could manage. So, let's cap this heavyweight philosophy session titled Why Selling Aikidoing Sucks. You hear about Aikido and about minimal reaction, and you are not impressed. Actually, you find it quite annoying. That's fair. My podcasting may be lacking. Maybe Aikido is not as amazing as I think it is. Maybe I still have to wake up to the fact that this whole Aikidoing thing works only in my head. These are all viable possibilities. But there is another viable possibility. Deep down inside, we are wired, to a certain extent, for self-preservation. Aikidoing smells awfully close to self-annihilation, and that self-preservation instinct kicks in and says, stop listening right now. This is bad for us. You can stop listening, of course, but you can also turn back and talk to this part of yours. I like to formally address it as the forever First Lady, Imelda Marcos, but that's just me. You can say, I hear you, Imelda, dear. You are most probably right, but there is a difference between self-preservation and paranoia. I will listen, I will experiment at my own pace, I'll see with my own eyes, and if it's really not good for us, nobody can make us do it. Deal? Now let's go buy some shoes, darling. So, people don't like to hear about Aikidoing, and that, as we said, sucks mightily. However, there are not many topics that are more worthy of our time and effort. So I will keep soldiering on, and I hope you will soldier on with me. And also, good news. That second point we neglected on the first chapter, the one we promised to address on the next chapter, which was at the time the second chapter, the one about how we perceive enemies, it's coming up next. And it features some Looney Tunes. What can possibly go wrong?